Why would I even add head-mounted cameras? Playing solo. It's not all about what's solo and what's on. Giving myself flashlights. Flashlights! 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 Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. What is up, guys? Okay. What's up, guys? So, this is my second part of my tips and tricks, second video of my tips and tricks. This will be my intermediate tips and tricks. So I'm going to try to cover different things, as many different things as I can think of that I didn't cover in the beginners, but also leave out enough that I could make an advanced one for those more advanced players that still might not exactly know everything there is to know. I'm not saying I know everything, but anyways, so we're gonna roll on a professional Tanglewood Street, and I've added everything to the game except the head cameras, because playing solo, those won't do you any good. So let's roll this in, and I'm gonna play this from the perspective of like an intermediate player. So I'm not gonna explain like some of the more basic things. So anyways, this is gonna be a townhouse, right? Tanglewood townhouse, smallest house in the game. Anytime I do a townhouse, any of the townhouses, I never take a flashlight on my first sweep. If you want to take a flashlight, I'd recommend the UV flashlight, because then you can at least check for fingerprints while you're out. Usually the guy I play with takes a UV. So my normal go-to for any of the townhouses is a book, a ghost box, and a thermometer. The thermometer is pretty much just to sweep the house. I should check the ghost thing. So I'm not even going to worry about a flashlight. I'm going to hit lights on my way in, James Clark. And my goal is to find that room as quickly as possible, throw the book down as quickly as possible, check for ghost box, and then come back to get a second thing of items. So we're going to come in. We're just going to hit the lamp. Hit a couple of these hall lights. You don't have to hit every light. You can have, on small houses, you can have like 6 or 7 lights, something like that, on at once before you trip the breaker, which you can do. I didn't mention that in the beginner video, but moving forward, so the breaker, the ghost can turn off the breaker, but also, I'll find him in a minute. The ghost can turn off the breaker, but also you can trip the breaker yourself if you turn on too many lights. And you get, I think it's 8 for a large map, 7 for a medium, and then I think it's, and he's right here by the way, and it's 6 for a small map. So like Tanglewood, we'd have 6 lights. The best way to tell if you tripped a breaker or if a ghost tripped a breaker is when the breaker turns off, the switches will all be flipped down. If it gets tripped by you, the switches are down. If the ghost trips it, the switches will all stay up. So in other words, it would just be like, it's a power, the ghost is just turning it off, but if you turn on too many switches, it's like a power surge, essentially. So if all the power cuts off and the switches are now in the down position, that's on you. And this is a foyer ghost, which I fucking hate. So we kind of know he's in this general area, so I'm just going to drop the book down. I can drop the temp gun down here too. Making sure the lights are off. Hit ghost box. Where are you? How old are you? Alright. See, that's why you take in... Put down that back on. That's why you take in 3 pieces of evidence instead of worrying about the flashlight. Like, the book is already down, so he has the chance to write in it. I already know where he's at because it was cold there, and I already got a hit on the spirit box. So, what I'm probably going to do is grab an EMF, check my objectives. I do need to stop a hunt with a crucifix and do a motion sensor. So I'll take an EMF and a motion sensor and a crucifix in. My sanity is still super high because even though it's on professional, I keep the lights on. Keep the fucking lights on. put, obviously he's been kind of fucking with stuff over here, so I can probably just leave that on right there. Crucifix, such a hard spot to decide where to place that. Maybe right there. And motion sensor there. Okay. And I'm probably going to grab the other crucifix, a camera, and a flashlight, and I'm going to do a quick sweep and look for the bone for the bonus, and I'll also look to see if I can find the Luigi board while I'm at it. Maybe I'll find it, maybe I won't. Doesn't hurt to look. Yeah, and there's a lot of misconceptions to how the crucifixes work, and a lot of that might be because it's still an alpha game. And there's not like anything that says specifically and super accurately. So the crucifix has to be in the radius of the ghost when a hunt starts. I would guess that it can't be like this. Like, you can't have it in your inventory on the side. It might work like that. It's still something that I need to test. But I do know that it will work in your hand, just like it's in my hand now. I'm already showing yourself up. I do know that it will work in your hand if you've got it, if you have it in your hand and you're still in the radius. The important thing is that it has to be in the radius of where the ghost spawns. I've seen it work in people's hands before, but that being said, that also could have just potentially been like some kind of a glitch, since it is still an early access game. So, to be safe, I'd place it. I've got one on the ground there. I've got one on the ground there. They've both got a 3-meter radius. So as long as the ghost spawns within 3 meters of either of those for a hunt, it will stop the hunt. Don't rely super heavily on crucifixes to save your life, because the ghost is going to spawn slightly different places every time, so you don't know for sure. From what I can tell, they kind of like, they'll wander, especially a hallway ghost. Obviously, you saw he was at the end of the hallway, and that's not where we found him at. So they'll wander down the hall, and then if they decide to start their hunt, they just pretty much, I think, spawn in where they're at. Sometimes if they're close enough to a wall, they'll even spawn in on the other side of the wall in like another room. So really don't put a whole lot of faith in the crucifixes, because that'll get you killed. So all I've got so far is Spirit Box, but I also have... This guy's kind of active. Let me get the other book. So when you got big rooms, hallways, and shit like that, it really benefits to have 2 books, because you can put one book down on one end of the hall or one end of the room, and one book down at the other end. So I'm going to take the second book. I think we already got the motion sensor. We did. I'm going to take the second book, a UV light, so I can check for fingerprints. I'm going to take some salt, see if I can get some footprints. So, a wraith almost never touches the ground. So a wraith will still walk, and they'll still disturb salt piles, but rarer. But one... Oh! God! Okay. Anyways, this guy's a little aggressive. They'll disturb the salt piles, just like, probably not as much as those, but you won't be able to track their footprints with a UV light and salt like you can with other ghosts. How you can just kind of track where they're at, you can't do that with a wraith. So if you hear walking, don't immediately discount a wraith, but if you put a bunch of salt and UV down and you still don't really get any hits on it, probably a pretty safe bet that it's not one. This one actually could be a wraith, I wonder. So different ghosts have different personalities, and then there's also variations of that. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's really hard to be exact. in my advanced one, I'll probably kind of go through some traits of different ghosts and like the kind of shit that they like to do. And it's certainly not written in stone, but having a general idea of how a mare or a djinn usually acts does help. For example, the way that this guy has showed himself twice to me already, and then he kind of charged me there a second ago. I've already kind of got an idea on what this might be. I haven't gotten a second piece of evidence yet, which is kind of unfortunate. And this is how you check your book safely. So, Spirit, Wraith, Poltergeist, Djinn, Mare, Demon, Oni. Spirit box still leaves a lot of options, unfortunately. That being said, if he still hasn't written in either of the books, you can usually kind of use the process of elimination. This is a pretty aggressive ghost, actually. So, he loves to scare me. It could be, now there's times where I've been like, there's no way that's a spirit, and it's been a spirit. That being said, spirits are fingerprints. It's been fucking with doors all the time. So even if you don't get a bunch of pieces of evidence, a lot of times you can eliminate things by knowing what it's not. Like, the ghost writing can be a little finicky. He's been fucking with doors this whole time. I would have gotten a fingerprint on a door, so I can rule out fingerprints, I think, confidently. So that'll rule out a spirit. That'll also rule out a poltergeist, which I kind of didn't think it was anyways. It's being really aggressive with the lights on, so I would say a mare is probably out of the equation. So personally, I'm leaning towards a demon, Oni, or djinn. It could even be a Ray. Yeah, so we're gonna have to just we're gonna have to get some more evidence, essentially. I can almost rule out spirit I think I could probably 55, yeah. If it's a demon or an Oni, it'll start hunting around that 50 ballpark, so we'll take some sanity pills. I got the smudge, got the motion sensor. It hasn't hunted yet, so I haven't gotten that. I could set a camera up and see if I can get orbs. Is probably my next step. Because if it's orbs, then it's probably a djinn, based on how it's acting. To be honest, I really thought this was going to be more of like a phantom or a banshee, based on just how it was acting. So that's my point right there. It's like, even though you know the traits of the ghosts, how they're supposed to act, that doesn't mean that's exactly it every time. It could be a mare. If I didn't think it was a mare, I wouldn't think it was a mare normally based on how it's acting with the evidence, but mares also like to scream in my ear quite a bit, and they tend to scare you, try to scare you. And the fact that he's walking through all this salt and disturbing all this salt, but hasn't written in these books, kind of makes me think I could probably rule out the ghost book. But I've also haven't seen any footprints from him either, which means he might be disturbing the salt and then flying, which would be a wraith. So I'm going to take another glow stick and another thing of salt. I'm going to double check my wraith, see what I need for that. So fingerprints, freezing temperature, spirit box. Okay. I think I can confidently rule out fingerprints at this point in time. So actually, spirit box, ghost writing, but I feel like demon, what are my options again? Mare, could be a mare. Could be a djinn. Alright, so here's my plan. I'm going to lay down some more salt. I want to see if I can track his footsteps, and then I'm going to have to check for orbs, which means I'm going to need to turn all those lights off. Just going to put down more salt. More salt. We're going to put that down right about there. Put that down right about there. So, check this out. Fun fact, this is a good little trick for you. If you turn this computer on, first off, let me get my camera. First off, you can actually take a picture of the computer screen and get an interaction point for that. And secondly, it actually shows the name of your ghost. So, Thomas Wilson, I know is the name of the ghost because it pulls it up on the screen for me. Okay, so let's turn off a bunch of lights. Close that door. Check for orbs. If I get orbs, that's going to narrow it down to pretty much, I think, like a marriage, and because I really don't think we're going to get fingerprints for a poltergeist. Yep, ghost orbs. Okay. So we got ghost orbs, spirit orbs, whatever the hell they're called. Poltergeist, Jinn, Mare. So, based on the evidence, based on how the ghost has acted so far, Jinn is what my go-to guess is going to be here. Oh yeah, and you can see interaction for Thomas Wilson, and if I go to James Clark, now I'm just confused. I guess never mind. Should I edit that out or should I leave it? I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it. Even high levels can get stuff wrong, but it's still an interaction photo any way you cut it. Okay, so we know there's ghost orbs. I can place an educated guess. I could leave if I wanted to, but I'm gonna try to get that EMF 5 because I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And also, it would be nice if I could get that hunt. So, something to note about Jinns. I've tested this several times, haven't come up with anything conclusive, but supposedly they do move faster through their electricity when they're hunting. Now it says when they're hunting, travels at a high rate of speed, something like that. So, intermediate tip of the day. If there's a Jinn, cut the power to the house. Cut the power box. That should hopefully help. Yeah, he's throwing shit around like crazy. He loves to step in. What's weird is you should be able to track his footsteps, although I haven't seen footsteps at any point in time. Show yourself. Where's where'd my camera go? How's I don't need it. James, James. Show yourself, James. Show yourself, James. See, like, I just saw him move that, so I know for a fact that there'd be a handprint on this door right here. The fact that there's not means I can rule that out. Show yourself, James. You could even check. I missed the EMF. Okay. Intermediate tip 2. If you're trying to get an EMF, don't do what I just did and fucking sit there like an ostrich with his head in the sand. If a door moves, run up to it with an EMF really quick so you can get that EMF reading. James, give me a sign. Give me a sign. See, EMF 2. Oh, sometimes you'll get really lucky. Okay, I got EMF 5. Definitely. I'm confident that was EMF 5. That's 4. That means he's right there. Okay, so I could... try to stop a hunt with a crucifix, right? That's one of my objectives. That being said, with the hall ghost like that, the way that he's going from all the way to the end of the hall, all the way back in by those bedrooms, if he starts a hunt, that's a huge range of area. I can't cover all of it with 2 crucify. So on this circumstance, my recommendation would be to make sure your gen is marked. And I'd call it there.
Welcome back. I've prepared some jobs for you.
Yeah, that's, man, I don't know. I guess that's kind of like an intermediate guide. It's not like a super guide. I tried my best to do tips and tricks going through it. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do for my advanced one. I may just do like a series, like how to get better, and as I go through games, kind of explain what I'm doing and explain how to do it better, shit like that. Explain the mistakes I make. But hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see the next one, make sure you like and subscribe, and I don't know, hit that notification bell or some shit. Till next time, keep hunting.